Welcome to Rick's Corner, brought to you by Old School Labs, the brand I trust and the only one I put my name to. Use my code drasin12 on the link below.
Welcome to Rick's Corner. The man, the myth, the legend. Now on with the show.
Well, it's one of those days where there's not a whole lot to do as normal right now until we get through all this, so I thought I'd shoot another show on Rick's Corner. Now, I had a friend of mine that said, you never talk about wrestling anymore, and he says, I knew you when you started. You had all these characters back in the 60s and 70s that are long gone that some people know about and a lot of people don't know about. So maybe you could tell a story about it. Well, one of my many stories. I had mentioned before when I got into wrestling in 1965, I was trained by a woman, Johnny Mae Young, who was the world's champion. And don't let that fool you, she was tough. She was tougher than most guys. And she was about 40 years old at the time. Took me in a ring upstairs at the Olympic Auditorium and tossed me from one side to the other and up and down and slammed me and told me all over the place. But she did teach me how to wrestle. She taught me how to do what I had to do. There were styles of American style, Japanese style, Mexican style, and shoot style. So you work, American style is on the right, Japanese style works on the left, I believe, and the Mexican style is on the left, and then shoot style is for real. So you had to know these things. And I had mentioned that I trained for probably 6 or 7 months, driving back and forth to Bakersfield to Los Angeles every day and trained in the ring for 2 to 3 hours. Came home, went to the gym, worked at the gym, and then worked out. Now you talk about cardio. There was no cardio back then, but the ring work itself was cardio. I'd come back from LA driving home and I'd be on the Interstate 5 just like falling asleep. I was so tired. But in the long run, after all those years I put in, I got booked first on Channel 5 working with Buddy Killer Rawson, who I mentioned before that I did not want to work with because he was a big, large man that drank a lot, and in the ring you don't know if he was sober or drunk. You didn't know what he was going to do to you because he was rough. But as it was, it worked out, and it was on Channel 5, and that was my first introduction to being on TV wrestling, which I'd seen a lot as a kid, and I'd never thought in a million years I'd be out there doing it. It wasn't really a dream of mine at the time, because I was playing guitar, but then, I don't know why it hit me, but it did. After I competed in some bodybuilding and powerlifting meets, I thought wrestling was going to be the next step. I wished I knew what my motivation was at the time, and I don't. I forgot. But 2 wrestlers came to town. They were older, and they would work out at the YMCA where I was, and we just talked, and we did benches and this and that, and I said, maybe I'd like to get into the business, and they said, well, if you want to, there's no such thing as a wrestling school. They don't exist. You have to find a seasoned wrestler to train you, and they said, I don't know anybody who has the time to train you, especially without a ring. Other than Mae Young. If you want to go down and see her at the Olympic Auditorium, she can put you in the ring, and if she likes you, she'll work with you, and she'll charge you so much money a month. So I did that, and I went down there and got tossed around, like I said, and she says, I can make money with you. You got a good body. She says, a lot of the guys are overweight and they don't sell their body like they should, and they don't stay in shape, but with you, you'll be different. So I said, what are you going to charge me? She says, I'll charge you $25 a class. This is private, 2 to 3 hours, you and I. So it ran me like $125 a week, which it was quite a bit of money back in 1965, but I was playing in a band on Fridays and Saturdays, and I had the money, and I was working at a gym. I had extra money, and so I said, okay, I'll do it. I didn't want to try to do it because I don't believe in the word try, but I said, I will do it. So after so many months, like I said, I got booked on Channel 5, and it went over, and the fans liked me, and the promoter liked me, and so they started booking me the following week in small towns. It would be like, Monday night was Ventura, Tuesday night was San Diego, Wednesday night was the Olympic Auditorium, Thursday night was Bakersfield, Friday night was the Olympic Auditorium, Saturday night was San Bernardino. Sunday night was like an open night for a wild show somewhere. So that's every night, and that's a lot of nights to wrestle every night with a different guy. So you learn how to manipulate the crowd and how to manipulate yourself along with somebody else. They're all different sizes. So having a wrestling match with somebody is always going to be different because they're big and they're small and they're fat and they're short and they're thin and they're heavy. They're all different. So you got to gauge yourself towards somebody who's like really big against somebody who's really small. But you learn to work with them and you learn how to pick them up and slam them and do all that stuff. I remember seeing a movie a karate movie when I was a kid, a judo, and the guy picked the guy up and he flipped him over his shoulder. And I said, God, I've always wanted to learn how to do that. How do they do that? So I learned that in wrestling, and then that was one of my standard things I would do, is just give somebody a snap right over my shoulder, and then down they went. But it's kind of a treat to be able to do these things that you saw somebody else doing. So the matches were good, and then in the office they have people who book you and people who call the matches, and they write the matches out that they want you to do, who you're with and what you're going to do. So I was always, well, I can't say I was a fan of, but I used to watch a lot of the wrestlers that I was familiar with, and one of them was Mr. Moto, who looked like Charlie Chan from the movies. And he would throw salt in the guy's eyes, and then the jaw would be going up and down, and he had the big clogs on, the karate to the throat, and then the guy would like throw up on him and shit, and I thought, wow, it's pretty cool. I saw him work, and he worked a lot with Buddy Austin, this guy I went in with. Then they had Freddie Blassie, the pencil neck geek, and boy was he a talker, but he was an ex-boxer too, I found out, and an actor. But in the ring, he was tough. He didn't mess around. But he didn't like new guys. He didn't know me, and he came up to me and he says, look, you're going to work. No gimmicks. You have a little flower patch on your trunks, take it off. You don't need that. Just be yourself. So, I said, okay, fine, but I left it. But Moto, Mr. Moto was the booker, and when we came in to do the shows, Moto would come in and book me on certain shows, and then sometimes he wouldn't. So I sent him a letter. That's all we had back then. I said, I don't understand when you guys hired me to come to work, and I have a good body, I'm blonde, blue-eyed, in good shape, and you can make money with me, why don't you book me more? I mean, what is it about me you don't like? So he had said to me that not that he disliked me, but he said, I have other guys to take care of, and I have guys coming in from Japan. And I said, well, that's kind of prejudice. I mean, I'm here to work, and I'm right here. So I'd like to be booked more, and I said some things to him I probably shouldn't have said. But what I did say, and when I got the feedback, he turned himself around and he started booking me all the time. And then he brought in Kenji Shibuya. I don't know if you guys know him from the Bay Area, a big Japanese guy. And they put him in the office, and they had me work with him a lot. He must have been 300 pounds. This guy was really nice. He booked me every night and worked with him almost all the time. Same thing with John Tolis. When I worked with him a lot. And John was a great guy. And he says, okay, kid, I'll take a bump for you, one or two, but that's it. There's a certain system and camaraderie, and there's a certain things the old timers won't do for the newcomers. So you've got to prove yourself before they'll even take a bump for you, because they don't know if you're good enough to sell for. So I had those guys, and I had Victor Rivera. He was a champion. He was great. Hank Gordon and Goliath tag match. Those guys were like brutal, but they were good guys. And I learned a lot, because they're people, you come here and they're from all over the world. They've wrestled everywhere. You didn't have one central TV, but you saw the wrestling magazines, and these guys were in all the magazines. So they would bring them in for 6 weeks, 6 months, or 3 months, whatever the tour was, and then they'd put us with us to work, because we were local. We lived here locally. Me, Jack Armstrong, a few guys. So we got called in at night to work with all the guys from out of town. I think it was a world of experience, just meeting people from all over, getting along with them, and just having a really good time, learning new jokes from Bobo Brazil, who knew 1,000 jokes. And they were nice. They were really nice to me. They had a black guy named Tiger, who was an ex-boxer, old, and he would have towels and no teeth. And when he came out of the ring and walked into the locker room, he said, that was a masterpiece. That was a great match. It was a masterpiece. I said, really? He said, oh, that was a masterpiece. So I went in my dressing room, and I asked one of the wrestlers, I said, does he watch the matches? And he said, no, he tells that to everybody. It's okay, fine. I'll take the compliment. But it was definitely a good time. And then when you go out of state, because I went up to Oregon to wrestle, and it was really nice up there. Roddy Piper was up there for a while, and Dutch Savage, Jimmy Snuka and I were teamed up as a tag match. And Oregon was beautiful, all the big trees and all that. I just loved it. And we trained at Sam LaPrenzi's gym, which was a great bodybuilding gym. I had just really good workouts there. I just remember it was just a fun time. And then they had a restaurant called the Country Kitchen, and that had a 5.5 pound steak, or roast you want to call it, that you would, if you ate the whole thing in an hour, you got it free. The roast, the baked potato, the salad, the soup, the rolls, and the ice cream. And Jack Armstrong did it within an hour. Where do you put all that food? I can't imagine. So that was kind of the fun stuff. And then I had a cabin in Milwaukee, Oregon, and across from my cabin was another cabin, and there were 4 or 5 midget wrestlers, and they all lived there for the tour. So I'd come home at night and they'd be waving, they'd bring over coffee and sweet rolls and things like that, and then they wanted to ride with me. So I had a 240Z. There wasn't a lot of room, but I put 1 in the front and 2 in the back. And on our way to the wrestling matches, they'd drink beer and they'd toss them out the window. They'd have to stop and pee about every 20 minutes. And then when we got to the show, we had to wrestle each other. So it was a big guy and a midget and a big guy and a midget. I had never done that, but they told me, don't worry about it, we'll take care of the whole thing. I had to lock up with the other wrestler, full size, and the midgets crawl up our back and sit on our shoulders, and they're wrestling each other on top. And all the routine went like that, then between our legs and all over the place. That was a world experience. It's just, never did anything like that before. But I learned, and I enjoyed it. I came back, and then I went back down to Santa Monica, and I stayed in my apartment on the beach and worked locally again. And then I went out again to Hawaii once a month and worked at the HSC auditorium. But Lord Blair's, a lot of big names are out there. Superstar Graham, oh my God, I can't remember all of them, but the first match they booked me with was Harold Sakata. And Harold was Odd Job and Goldfinger. He was the Chinese guy, the Japanese guy that threw the hat that cut the statue's head off, and I was booked with him. And I did not have a camera, like camera phones. I wish I would have got a picture of that. Nicest guy in the world. He was 60 then. And they said, take it easy on the old man, he's old. But we had a good match, and it was a lot of fun. A lot of good guys there. And then you go for a Wednesday, you stay Thursday, Friday, Saturday, come back on a Sunday, and then you got 4 days in Hawaii, all paid. So people say, why did you do it? I said, for those reasons, because I got to see things I never saw before. And it was a lot of fun. Then I went back to Minnesota, worked for Vern Gagne with some of the big names. Ric Flair was there, and some of the Bulldog, oh my God, what's his name? The Crusher, and some of those guys. And they were all really top-notch workers. But the only problem was back in Minnesota that it got to be about 30 degrees below zero. And I said, I can't take this cold weather. My ears were turning purple. Everywhere you go, you had to run to get into a store. So I lasted there, I don't know, not too long, a few months maybe. And I finally said, no, I got to go back to California. I can't live in this weather. It's just, I wasn't born in it. I was born on the beach. So I left there, and then I came back, went down to Florida, worked for guys down in Dothan, Alabama, Pensacola, Florida, all through that area, which all Southern wrestlers that were pretty good wrestlers, pretty quick, and new moves that I hadn't seen some, and some that I have. So I had to spend a whole week with each guy throwing me around and seeing if I could counter that and get even, not even, but get back at him, and I did. And then I proved myself, and then I was in. Had a great time down there, and the food was great, and the guys were great, and they had a good YMCA to work out in, and that was a good call. So the wrestling road was fun. Like I say, I met a lot of people. I shared a dressing room with Andre the Giant later on. Superstar Graham I used to ride to the matches with. It was a great guy, a lot of fun to be around. And certain people you just remember really well because they were very social and very congenial and nice. I don't think I met too many people I didn't like at all. You always get one or two that are going to get tough with you, and they're going to stiff you and make you look like crap because they don't want some young guy with muscles coming into the ring and making them look bad. But if you could work and you could take it, then you're in the group. So that's pretty much what I did. And then when I got done there and I came down to the Valley, I started doing commercials and films, as you guys know, and then I bought a house out here, and I put a ring in my backyard and started training people for different independent shows, NWA, and also some WWE shows, and the ring still up there. So that was it, and the characters, like I said, I met, you learned a lot. These guys traveled all over. They knew a million jokes. They knew a different prank every night. They'd prank somebody, and it was just fun. I wanted to share that with you, and a lot of people aren't into that wrestling world. They don't know what really goes on, and I haven't told all because it's too detailed, but I'm glad I did it. It made me a better person for what I want to do because it taught me how to be self-promoting, how to be social, how to be more of an entertainer, and how to apply that stuff to all things in my life, like this show, for example, and bodybuilding, and put my name out there and be successful. So, and how to speak on a microphone, because in high school I wouldn't talk. Once they gave me a mic and said, cut promos, I said, okay, and I started getting good at it. So I have to say that business helped me with a lot of things, even to this day. I hope you enjoyed that, and as I have more stories, I'll pass them along to you, and you can listen to them and laugh and make fun of me, because I don't mind. See you next time.
Hope you enjoyed the video brought to you by Old School Labs. Use my discount code DRASIN12 on the link below at oldschoollabs.com.
Hey everyone, now you can have the Gold's Gym logo drawn by me, the artist Rick Drasin, personalized and made out to you and signed by me to frame and put on your gym wall or wherever you see fit to do so. It's a piece of bodybuilding history. It will never be duplicated again. It's the largest selling icon t-shirt logo in the world, and I'm the guy that drew it, and I will draw it for you. Just go to my website, rickdrasin.com, and order there. You can pay through PayPal, and it'll be sent out right away. And be sure to watch Rick's Corner for all the videos on bodybuilding, nutrition, fitness, pro wrestling, and anything that suits your interests as far as getting physically fit and being the best you can be from the golden era of bodybuilding.
It's Rick Drasin. He's the equalizer, baby. See you next time.